Why does the country with the world's largest oil reserves have a collapsing economy? How can you sit on 300 billion barrels of crude and still face hyperinflation and starvation? Venezuela nationalized its oil in 1976, kicked out the foreign companies, created PDVSA, the state oil company. Full sovereignty over resources, complete control, except they never actually got control. The nationalization was designed to fail from the start, not through incompetence, through structure. Venezuela was allowed to own the oil, but never permitted to truly control it. The curse was built in. Welcome to Economics of Power. Venezuela has been an oil state since the 1920s. When massive reserves were discovered under Lake Maracaibo, foreign companies rushed in. Shell, Exxon, Mobil. The Venezuelan state was weak, ruled by military strongmen. They offered generous concessions to multinationals in exchange for royalties. The companies extracted oil, Venezuela got a cut, but the companies made the real profits, controlled production, set prices, decided investment. By the 1960s, Venezuela wanted more. Not just royalties, real control. This led to OPEC. Juan Pablo Pérez Alfonso, Venezuela's oil minister, co-founded the organization with Saudi Arabia. The goal was simple: producer countries controlling their own resources. But Pérez Alfonso understood something others didn't. He saw the trap. In 1976, at the moment of nationalization, he issued a warning that would prove prophetic. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you will see oil will bring us ruin. It is the devil's excrement. He wasn't being pessimistic. He was being realistic. Resource-rich countries tend to be underdeveloped, not despite their wealth, but because of it. Economists call this the resource curse. Easy money from natural resources destroys everything else. Manufacturing collapses. Agriculture withers. The currency appreciates. Imports flood in. Exports die. The entire economy becomes dependent on one commodity. When prices fall, everything fails. The 1976 nationalization looked like victory. President Carlos Andrés Pérez declared Venezuelan control at the Mene Grande oil field. PDVSA was born. Foreign companies were compensated. Shell and Exxon received payment for their assets. But here's the critical detail. They were invited back immediately as service providers, technology partners, contractors. The companies lost ownership, but they retained control of the actual operations. Venezuela owned the oil legally, but lacked the expertise to extract it profitably. The multinationals knew this. That's why compensation was generous. That's why the transition was smooth. They were leaving through the front door and returning through the back. PDVSA initially succeeded. Through the 1980s and 90s, it was considered world-class, top talent, foreign partnerships, strong credit rating, plans to double production to 6 million barrels daily. But even during this golden period, something troubling was happening. PDVSA's contribution to the state declined. In 1976, the Treasury received 74% of PDVSA's revenues. By 1997, that fell to 40%. By 2001, just 17%. The company was keeping more money, the state getting less. This wasn't nationalization. This was privatization, wearing a national flag. PDVSA executives earned between $100,000 and $4 million annually, 20 top executives. Meanwhile, 18,000 workers earned a fraction of that combined. The structure ensured Venezuela couldn't truly control its oil. Here's why. Oil extraction requires technology. Venezuela didn't have. Heavy crude from the Orinoco Belt needs specialized processing. Venezuela lacked refineries for this grade. PDVSA needed foreign partners, joint ventures, technology agreements, service contracts. Every attempt at independence increased dependency. The country owned the reserves, but couldn't access them profitably without multinational cooperation. This created leverage. The multinationals could dictate terms. If Venezuela demanded too much, they could leave. Take their technology, their expertise, their market access. Venezuelans would be left with oil they couldn't extract or sell. The resource curse accelerated. Oil became 96% of export revenue. All other sectors atrophied. When Hugo Chavez took power in 1999, he found an economy completely dependent on petroleum. His response was to use oil wealth for social programs. Redirect PDVSA profits to fund healthcare, education, poverty reduction. Between 1999 and 2013, this seemed to work. Poverty fell, literacy improved, but the underlying structure remained unchanged. Venezuela still depended entirely on oil, still needed foreign technology, still operated within systems designed elsewhere. Chavez fired 20,000 PDVSA workers after a 2002 strike. gut the company of technical expertise, replaced experienced engineers with political loyalists, production declined, efficiency collapsed. In 2007, Chavez demanded foreign companies restructure their Orinoco projects. PDVSA would hold at least 60%. Majority Venezuelan control. ExxonMobil refused. ConocoPhillips refused. Their assets were expropriated. They sued in international courts, spent years seeking compensation. Meanwhile, companies that accepted the new terms stayed. Chevron, the only major American oil firm still operating in Venezuela today. Why did Chevron stay? Because it understood something crucial. Ownership doesn't matter if you control the infrastructure. Chevron operates minority stakes under PDVSA, but it provides the technology, the expertise, the market access. It's profitable even without owning the reserves. This is the genius of modern resource extraction. You don't need to own, you just need to control the value chain. When oil prices collapsed in 2014, Venezuela's economy imploded. PDVSA production had already fallen to 1 million barrels daily, down from 3.1 million when Chavez took power. The company was hollowed out, underfunded, technically incompetent, corrupt, hyperinflation hit, food scarcity, medicine shortages, mass emigration. 7 million Venezuelans fled the country. The devil's excrement prophecy materialized exactly as predicted. But was this just mismanagement? Or was it design? Consider what happened next. U.S. sanctions in 2019 targeted PDVSA directly, blocked financial access, banned exports. The stated goal was regime change. But the effect was ensuring Venezuela could never develop independent oil capacity. Sanctions prevented investment, technology transfer, market access. The country with the world's largest reserves couldn't sell its oil. Even nationalization, the supposed moment of control, was structured to fail. The companies that trained PDVSA's first generation of managers taught them to operate like multinationals, not like a national resource company. PDVSA employees were sent abroad for training, learned Shell's methods, Exxon's practices. When they returned, they replicated foreign corporate culture, high executive pay, minimal state contribution, profit retention. The nationalization created a Venezuelan company that thought like an American one. This wasn't accident, it was policy. Western-trained managers ensured PDVSA would remain integrated with global systems, would prioritize markets over nation, would function as extraction company rather than development engine. The foreign companies lost ownership but retained ideological control. The infrastructure trap is total. Venezuela can't refine most of its own oil domestically. Heavy crude from Orinoco requires specialized refineries. Many are in the United States. PDVSA owned CIT-GO, a US-based refining and distribution network. This was supposed to secure market access, but it created vulnerability. In 2019, U.S. authorities authorized opposition leader Juan Guaido to appoint CIT-GO's board, severed ties with Maduro's government, prevented PDVSA from accessing CIT-GO's revenues. The company Venezuela built to guarantee independence became a tool of American leverage. Venezuela's oil had to be refined abroad, sold through foreign systems, cleared through dollar transactions. Every step created choke points that could be closed. This reveals the core truth about resource nationalism. Owning reserves means nothing if you don't control the full value chain. Extraction technology, refining capacity, transportation infrastructure, financial systems, market access. All these layers are controlled by forces outside Venezuela. A country can nationalize, can expel foreign companies, can declare sovereignty. But if the global infrastructure remains unchanged, control is an illusion. Venezuela owns the oil, but American refineries process it. Dollar systems finance it. SWIFT networks facilitate transactions. Sanctions can close any of these at will. Ownership without control is just expensive responsibility without power. The final irony is who benefits from Venezuelan chaos. While production collapsed from 3.1 million barrels in 1999 to under 1 million today, who filled the gap? U.S. shale producers. Saudi Arabia, Russia. Venezuela's decline was their gain. Markets don't care who extracts oil, they care about supply. When Venezuela fell out of global markets, prices briefly spiked. Then other producers increased output, captured Venezuela's market share, made profits. Venezuela desperately needed. The country that co-founded OPEC to defend producer interests ended up subsidizing its competitors through its own collapse. This wasn't accidental, this was structural. Venezuela was never meant to control its own oil because the global system is designed to prevent it. Resource nationalism is permitted, even encouraged when it serves imperial interests. But actual control, The ability to extract, refine, sell, and profit independently remains structurally impossible. The infrastructure isn't designed for it. The technology isn't accessible. The financial systems don't allow it. The markets won't support it. Venezuela got ownership, a national company, a flag on the oil fields. But the devil's excrement curse was built into the system itself, not through Venezuelan failure, through the global architecture that ensures resource-rich countries remain dependent on systems they don't control. The oil was always supposed to ruin them,